Welcome back to Eclipse's huge drama shitstorm with a creator that's like 40 times smaller than he is. Yes, guys, I understand the irony, but here's the deal, and let's just speak honestly here, because that's what I try to do on this channel. I try to be honest. I didn't intend to make another video on this guy, even if he responded. I said so to a few people in my Discord DMs, and I was talking about it in my Discord general the other day. But what it really comes down to is, well, look at this. That's pretty damn good for less than 24 hours, huh? Well, seeing as it's pretty good for less than 24 hours, I got the answer that I expected. So, why am I making this video? It's to make money. Sorry, not sorry. That being said, it's very clear to me that the other creator involved in all of this nonsense is also doing it for drama bait and clicks, and I think that maybe he didn't expect the response that he got, because as of current, at least from what I can tell, he seems very genuinely frustrated about all of it and just wants to get out, which, maybe you shouldn't have started the whole beef in the first place if you just wanted to immediately get out of it. But he made another video today, the day that I'm recording this one, which was a sort of parody on my Daily Dose of Stupid, where he was making fun of some people that went from my channel to his channel, which I told you not to do, but I knew you would anyway. I tried to not link the video in order to discourage people, so hopefully I stopped a few people from going over there and saying stupid shit. But obviously when doing that, it's just going to lead to, well, only the most die-hard idiots to go out of their way to go find this guy's channel to be a jackass. So anyways, at the end of that video, he said that he wasn't making any money, meanwhile showing a clip of him applying for monetization, which, like, come on, man, even if you're not doing this for money, it's very obvious you did it for views, otherwise you wouldn't have done it to begin with. So why lie about that? I don't know. But he also said that he wasn't going to be doing another video on any of this. I don't know how much I believe that, but hey, it's in your hands now, buddy. Regardless, we're gonna be taking a look at a few different things that he said in the first response video that he made, and I'm going to be largely ignoring the Daily Dose of Stupid thing because, quite honestly, I watched the whole thing and it really doesn't have much to do with me at all. It has to do with people who went into his comments section and said dumb shit, which, listen, I get that all the time, so I'm no stranger to that. That's my whole series. So anyways, it's probably around 4 minutes of substance from his video. I cut out a lot of the just pointless personal attacks and stuff like that, which, on an unrelated note, which I just thought was kind of funny, he had to re-upload his Daily Dose of Stupid video because it got taken down for hate speech, I assume because he dropped too many N and R bombs. Which is a little bit hysterical. But regardless, I won't beat around the bush anymore. Let's kick things off.
First off, I want to start by saying, bro, this was the first video Eclipse and a lot of people watched on my channel. And I want to let you know right now, my channel is sadly not 100% serious. Yes, bro. Very, very sadly, it's not 100% serious. I am making jokes in my video, So if you hear me say some really just think for a second. Is he being serious or is he being a joke?
So this argument got a lot of flack from people in my comments who didn't really understand it, I think. And so I think it's fair for the most part that he's saying that some of the stuff that he said in his video is a joke. That being said, it's sometimes hard to tell, especially as someone who's, well, not an avid viewer of your channel, whether or not you're joking. I've had the same kind of things happen to me, especially recently with a game called Guts and Black Powder, where I made a first impressions video and a lot of people treated it like a game review, and there was no way for them to know the difference between a game review or first impressions because they were new to my channel, so I didn't necessarily fault them for that. And I think that's the same kind of thing that's going on here.
Not only my Type Soul videos are gone, every old video I made is gone, and that's only because I just don't even know, really. I just want to start fresh, bro.
Now, in terms of the videos that were removed, there's a lot of speculation going around when it comes to this. This guy clearly doesn't seem to intend on actually telling the truth on why he did what he did, and I don't really think it matters at the end of the day, but I figured since he brought it up again, I'll mention those things. And number one is that some people speculated in the comments section that the owner of TypeSoul or someone higher up was basically threatening to ban the guy off of the game if he kept making negative videos on it, which based on everything that I've heard about TypeSoul would not surprise me in the slightest. And of course, the other thing that a lot of people mentioned is that right now, by his own admission from the Daily Dose of Stupid comment section, he's 17, and so if he was making videos 2-3 years ago, his voice would not be nearly as deep as it is now. And so several commenters pointed out that he had a squeaky voice in those previous videos, and that might be why he decided to take them down. Regardless, I don't really think it matters at the end of the day, but I figured people might be curious, so I left it in.
I did not come after you for hating TypeSoul, my That was never the case. Never, ever, my In fact, bro, I would have been agreeing with you and jumping happily if you hated on the game, right, my The only problem is you didn't play the game and you said it sucked.
I just want to be clear here. There is no such thing as hating a game right or hating a game wrong. That's just not a thing. All of this stuff is a matter of perspective, and I'm really genuinely hoping that you'll learn from this experience. So there are these things in life that you will encounter called personal opinions. And your personal opinion isn't necessarily a right or wrong thing. You can have two people with completely opposing opinions, and neither opinion is objectively wrong. Because here's the deal. You kept saying over and over again that I didn't play the game. Eclipse didn't even play the game and he's judging the game. But that, on an objective level, is just not true. I logged into the game and I played it for about an hour. So I did play the game. What happened is I logged in, I played for an hour, I had no direction, didn't know what I was doing, the game looked boring, so I quit. My personal stance on all of this, which I think you should have probably gathered by now, is that you should not have to use a Trello in order to play a game. I think I've made that abundantly clear by now. The thing is that you do not have to agree with that opinion. You are 100% in your right to think that having to use a Trello in order to play a game is not bad, and it's perfectly fine. And that's clearly what you think. And again, that's fine. That's an opinion. There isn't a right or wrong answer on whether or not you choose to enjoy something. Now that being said, if we're talking strictly from an objective standpoint and from a game design standpoint, I think you would be hard-pressed to find a single game designer on the planet that would tell you that if you have to go outside the game in order to get third-party resources to play the game basically at all, that's good game design. From an objective standpoint, that's poor design. And that's what I do here. I try to judge things based off of objective game design. And obviously, eventually, my opinions are going to sway and I'm going to have a bias because, well, that's how it works for any game reviewer. Everyone has their biases, the things that they like and the things that they don't like. But here's the thing, when all is said and done, something doesn't have to be objectively well designed for you to enjoy it. It might in a lot of senses for me, but that doesn't mean that you're not allowed to.
He talked about Escape from Tarkov later, which is a game he enjoys, right? So imagine I hop on that game for 3.5 seconds, walk around, I don't know what I'm doing, and I delete the game and refund it and say it's ass. No, the game is not ass because of that, bro.
Yes, if you logged into Tarkov and you didn't use any outside information, here's what would happen. You would log in, you would flounder around for about 3 hours, die every single time, never extract once, never accomplish anything, you would get frustrated, and you would quit. That is what would happen 100%. And you know what? If someone did that, and then they came to me and they said, Eclipse, Tarkov sucks. I logged in, I ran around for 3 hours, died over and over again, had no idea what to do in the game, didn't tell me I would be like, yeah, that's a fair criticism because all of that is true. I wouldn't jump to the defense of Tarkov for its objectively bad game design because I think it's objectively bad game design. I would say, I hope the developers fix their objectively bad game design. I wouldn't go and defend the bad decisions. That doesn't make any sense. If I like a game and it has problems, I want those problems to get fixed. I wouldn't defend the problems, that way they persist and turn people away from the game. That's not good. I think the difference between me and you is that as a game reviewer predominantly, it's my job to try to put my biases aside and review things as objectively as possible while taking in the pros and the cons. And the thing is that I'm able to acknowledge the cons of the things that I like in order to try to make them better. Whereas, for whatever reason, and hopefully your stance changes on this after seeing this video, I don't think it will, but I hope it does, you don't seem to be capable of acknowledging the flaws of the things that you like. And if you're not able to acknowledge those flaws, then that thing is not going to improve.
But later in this, he says, oh, if your game doesn't have a tutorial when you spawn in, your game is instantly buns and it's gonna die. TypeSoul has more players than all of the JoJo games you have ever touched in your game that probably have a 10-minute tutorial at the beginning. All the JoJo games that you have ever touched, TypeSoul has more players than that.
Okay, so this sort of threw me for a loop, and I have 3 things to say about it. Number 1 is, do you really hate this game or do you love this game? Because honestly, at this point, I genuinely can't tell. You claim to hate it and say it's a piece of crap and it's terrible, yada, 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 yada. But you have absolutely nothing to say but good things so far. And every single time I level any criticism, you say it's invalid and not good criticism. And so I just have to wonder, like, do you like this game or do you not like this game? I have no clue. Number 2, when did this become a competition of player counts? And how does the games that I used in order to grow my channel to where I'm at right now have anything to do with what we're talking about? Like, YBA has nothing to do with this conversation. TCA has nothing to do with this conversation. Those games are irrelevant to what we're talking about. I don't even know why you brought this up. This is probably genuinely one of the worst arguments I've ever heard in my entire life, because by your own logic, this would make Souls RNG the best game on the planet. That game is a goddamn masterpiece. It is better than TypeSoul by like a country mile. And that's because it has more people playing it. Like, player counts are not indicative of how good a game actually is, especially on Roblox. And finally, if for some ungodly reason we were trying to turn this into a game dick measuring contest, for some reason, YBA peaked at like 100,000, over 100,000 concurrent players back during its prime. So are we working off of what was the highest player counts at the time? Are we working off of current player counts? This whole argument doesn't make sense, but if we wanted to go that route, YBA had over 100,000 players, so clearly it's better than TypeSoul. I don't even like YBA.
But I'm not gonna lie, this is the dumbest shit you've ever said. Especially, like, taking on the fact that you like Tarkov, my and that game probably has a active player base and it needs a Trello like you said. So why would you say that once you decide not to put a tutorial, then your game is gonna instantly get 0 players? Like, what?
Okay, so now you're strawmanning me. If you're otherwise unaware, the strawman fallacy is basically when you take someone's argument, you twist the words that they said into something that's significantly easier to attack and take down, and then you attack and take down that argument as if the person said it. I never once said that if your game doesn't have a tutorial, that it will have 0 players and it will die. I just didn't say that. And, like, clearly that's not true. Why would I say that if the game that I'm currently talking about that doesn't have a tutorial has 20,000 players? That would be idiotic, because it's just objectively wrong. I did say that not having a tutorial is objectively bad for your game and otherwise handicapping it and preventing people from getting into it that otherwise might. I am a perfect example of somebody who quit because I didn't know what I was doing. And I can guarantee you that there are tons of people on the Roblox platform that clicked on TypeSoul simply because of the player counts in the thumbnail, logged in, got confused, and quit. How many more people do you think would be playing your game if there was actually onboarding to tell you how to play the game? Just because there's 20 to 30,000 people playing now doesn't mean that there couldn't be 100,000 people playing. right? Like, I say these things because the stuff I'm talking about is just an objective detriment to the game. This is not something you should be defending. This is something you should be calling out.
Yeah, that's the most chronically online take I've ever heard in my life. I think I'm better than other people because I'm better than other people, not because of the games I play.
So that was one of your jokes, right? Please, please, please tell me that was one of your jokes.
If I would have told you that your favorite game in the world sucked, you wouldn't believe me, would you? You would defend that game with your life, fight with your life. Or if I told you a game that you had 500 hours on without me even playing it, I just say, oh, that game is buns. Would you believe me that the game is trash? No.
I feel like I already pretty much covered this, but I don't defend my favorite games to death because I'm not in, like, a cult when it comes to the games that I like. For reference, my favorite game is Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. This is a game that's widely loved by people at large, but that being said, there's not a shortage of criticism for the game, especially by long-term Zelda fans. Lots of old school fans have a problem with Breath of the Wild's open world format and the way that you can basically go wherever you went from the start. It effectively completely lacks the old linear focus that Zelda games used to have, and some people just aren't a fan of that. Some go as far to say that Breath of the Wild ruined the franchise by setting that as a staple and making it so that when Tears of the Kingdom came out, it was basically the same game but again. Now obviously I don't agree with these people because Breath of the Wild is my favorite game of all time, but that being said, I also don't think that their complaints are completely invalid. Because of how open-ended it is, Breath of the Wild's story definitely suffers from the lack of a linear nature. There's no real cohesive story, and you need to put it together as you play because the game developers could never really consider exactly where you were going to go first. So instead of having a beginning, middle, and end, you sort of have a beginning, middle, and then an end, if that makes any sense. And the thing is that I can acknowledge all of these shortcomings of the game and the complaints that people have about it, and I'm still able to call it my favorite game of all time without having these people sway how I feel about it. Because that's just it. When people insult games that I like, I don't immediately feel the need to start foaming at the mouth and going and making a bunch of videos on them, calling them because that's just not reasonable. Now that wraps up all of the things that I wanted to talk about in his video itself. There were a bunch of arguments that people mentioned in the comments section of his video that he just never addressed. I assume that he only didn't address them because he didn't have a rebuttal to them, which, I mean, fair enough, I suppose. Those arguments were that Deepwoken has a hook to it and TypeSoul doesn't. He mentioned Deepwoken a few times and is clearly a Deepwoken player, so I don't know how he missed this or decided to not include it, but I specifically mentioned in the video why I felt like Deepwoken succeeded. And it succeeded because, number one, it has a tutorial, not a super good one, but it's there. And number two, it interests you enough in order to get you involved to want to go to third-party sources to learn how to play the game more. TypeSoul doesn't have that. You spawn in and you get nothing, and then even if you figure out how to queue and kill the guys 200 times in a row, that's not an interesting game loop, so you're just gonna quit, and that's not the mark of a good game. He also didn't mention the gatekeeping fact, and I think that's because he genuinely believes it, which is a shame. This guy, I assume, genuinely believes that people who level criticism towards his favorite game are just fucking retards, and they don't deserve to have opinions, and they also should stay far away from the games that he likes because they're which I'm not a fan of that opinion at all, but you know what? What can I do? And then the final thing is that my first impression was terrible of the game, clearly, and everyone, including him, kept telling me that it sucked, so I decided that it wasn't worth my time to continue. And he never mentioned that at any point. He sort of brought it up a few times where he was like, well, why would you blindly believe me if I say it sucks without trying it yourself? And well, I already pretty much answered that. If I didn't like the game to begin with, and you told me, hey, if you continue playing, it gets worse, what reason would I have to not believe you? I already think it's bad. If you say it's still bad later, then why would I do that to myself? That makes no sense. Anyways, that's it. I don't have anything else to say on this, so we're wrapping up. If you enjoyed the pointless drama that is only here for views, then I guess you can leave a like and subscribe. If you didn't, don't. And with all that being said, have a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and I'll see you guys next time.